Something powerful happens when a child of God seeks to know more about Him and His beloved Son. Nowhere are those truths taught more clearly and powerfully than in the Book of Mormon.
God always provides safety for the soul, and with the Book of Mormon, He has again done that in our time. Remember this declaration by Jesus Himself: "Whoso treasureth up my word shall not be deceived. And in the last days, neither your heart nor your faith will fail you."
Chapter 18. King Lamoni supposes that Ammon is the Great Spirit. Ammon teaches the king about the creation, God's dealings with men, and the redemption that come through Christ. Lamoni believes and falls to the earth as if dead, about 90 BC. And it came to pass that King Lamoni caused that his servants should stand forth and testify to all the things that they had seen concerning the matter. The servants with Ammon were so terrified that they'd be killed just like the ones before them, and Ammon comes to them and says, "Hang on, it's going to be okay. Let's go find all the sheep." They find all the sheep, they come back, and the servants are told by Ammon, "You guys go surround the sheep," because the men that were scattering the sheep came back. And Ammon said, "I got this. You guys hold on to them, keep them and encircle them, and I'll go contend with these guys." And then he goes, he has a sling, he swings it around, kills a couple people, and they think he's just one guy. They weren't even worried. They're like, they had many. We don't know how many, but it said that there were many on their side, and then Ammon. And so Ammon has his sling, shoots it at people, kills some of them, and then they were so mad that they couldn't do anything to hurt Ammon back. None of their weapons were doing anything to hurt Ammon. And so they came up trying to just kill him, just man to man, battling. And then Ammon just decided to cut off their arms. The ones that raised their arm to hurt him, cut off their arm. And when they'd all testified to the things that they had seen, and he had learned of the faithfulness of Ammon in preserving his flocks, and also of his great power in contending against those who sought to slay him, he was astonished exceedingly, and said, "Surely this is more than a man. Behold, is not this the Great Spirit who doth send such great punishments upon his people because of their murders?" And they answered the king and said, "Whether he be the Great Spirit or a man, we know not." Like, we don't know who this guy is. Maybe he's a god. Maybe he's just some guy. We have no idea. But this much we do know, that he cannot be slain by the enemies of the king. Neither can they scatter the king's flocks when he is with us, because of his expertness and his great strength. Therefore, we know that he is a friend to the king. And now, O king, we do not believe that a man has such great power, for we know he cannot be slain. And now when the king heard these words, he said unto them, "Now I know that it is the Great Spirit, and he has come down at this time to preserve your lives, that I might not slay you as I did your brethren." So King Lamoni says, "You know what? You're lucky he came to save your lives, because I would have had you killed too, just like the ones before you I had killed for allowing your flocks to be scattered. Now this is the Great Spirit of whom our fathers have spoken." I feel like King Lamoni could have taken a little bit of responsibility and also decided that he didn't have to kill them for doing that. But you know what? I'm not the king. He's the king. Now this is the Great Spirit of whom our fathers have spoken. Now this was the tradition of Lamoni, that he had received from his father, that there was a Great Spirit. Notwithstanding, they believed in a Great Spirit. They supposed that whatsoever they did was right. Nevertheless, Lamoni began to fear exceedingly, with fear lest he had done wrong in slaying his servants. So here is his guilt kicking in. So he starts to think, wait a minute, maybe we haven't been doing everything right. Because it says here, they supposed that whatsoever they did was right. So they had kind of been told this whole like Nehorism type of gospel living, not gospel living, type of living, where there's basically no right or wrong. The Elsa-ism, I do not like that. I've already talked about that. But there is right or wrong. But right here, King Lamoni is saying that he didn't know that. He thought that everything that they were doing was fine. And now he's realizing that if there is a Great Spirit, maybe I haven't been doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And then he started to feel fear because he was worried that maybe he was wrong in slaying his servants. For he had slain many of them, because their brethren had scattered their flocks at the place of water. And thus, because they had had their flocks scattered, they were slain. So I don't know what many here constitutes, but I'm guessing a lot of people he had killed. Now it was the practice of these Lamanites to stand by the waters of Sebus to scatter the flocks of the people, that thereby they might drive away many that they were scattered unto their own land, it being a practice of plunder among them. So these guys are just like downright evil. They just want to cause chaos and carnage and bloodshed and pain. That was their whole plan. And so that's what they were focused on. And it came to pass that King Lamoni inquired of his servants, saying, Where is this man that is such great power? So Ammon isn't even there. The servants are the ones that bring the arms to King Lamoni. And they basically just drop him there and tell him what happened. They told their testimony of what they had just experienced. And then King Lamoni hears all of this, starts to get some guilt, like, hold on, is he the great spirit? And so then he asks, Where is this man that has such great power? And they said unto him, Behold, he's feeding thy horses. So Ammon doesn't even come to be like, here you go, look what I did. Check this out. Oh no, he just keeps working. He just keeps serving. He is feeding thy horses. Now the king had commanded his servants, previous to the time of the watering of their flocks, that they should prepare his horses and chariots, and conduct him forth to the land of Nephi. So the king had already asked them, take care of the flocks, and then I want you to go get my horses ready and my chariots, and I'm going to go to the land of Nephi. So this was their chores they were supposed to do. And King Lamoni hears, okay, so this guy just cut off all their arms, gathered all of our flocks back, and didn't even come and tell me. His fellow servants came to tell me, and now he's continuing to do exactly what the king asked him to do. That just blew his mind. Now when King Lamoni heard that Ammon was preparing his horses and his chariots, he was more astonished, because of the faithfulness of Ammon, saying, Surely there has not been any servant among all my servants that has been so faithful as this man, for even he doth remember all my commandments to execute them. Now I surely know that this is the great spirit, and I would desire him that he come in unto me, but I durst not. And it came to pass that when Ammon had made ready the horses and the chariots for the king and his servants, he went in unto the king, and he saw that the countenance of the king was changed. Therefore he was about to return out of his presence. So Ammon comes in, and not to say, hey, did you hear about what I did? Oh no, he came in to say, I did everything you asked. What else do you want me to do now? And when he came in, he saw that King Lamoni, his countenance was changed. He could see that his heart was being softened and changed. And instead of Ammon coming in and kind of taking over the conversation, he decides to be like, you know what, I'm going to come back at another time. Like, you look like you're dealing with something right now. I'll just come back when it's easier to talk. Like, he's not even saying, oh, did you hear about me? Did you hear what I did? At all. And one of the king's servants said unto him, Rabbana, which is, being interpreted, powerful or great king, considering their kings to be powerful. And thus he said unto him, Rabbana, the king desireth thee to stay. Therefore Ammon turned himself unto the king, and said unto him, What wilt thou that I should do for thee, O king? And the king answered him not for the space of an hour, according to their time, for he knew not what he should say unto him. So Ammon, even as he's called powerful, great king, Rabbana, he says to the king, what would you like me to do? Like, oh, you want to talk to me? What else do you want me to do? What else can I do to serve you? And the king could not even respond for an hour. And it came to pass that Ammon said again unto him, What desirest thou of me? But the king answered him not. And it came to pass that Ammon, being filled with the Spirit of God, therefore he perceived the thoughts of the king. Another time when a servant of the Lord has been able to perceive thoughts, although I don't think that these were that cryptic. So he perceived the thoughts of the king, and he said unto him, Is it because thou hast heard that I defended thy servants and thy flocks, and slew 7 of their brethren with the sling and with the sword, and smote off the arms of the others, in order to defend thy flocks and thy servants? Behold, is it this that causeth thy marvelings? So I don't know, is it that situation that just happened, that story that you just heard about? Is that why you want to talk to me? I say unto you, what is it that thy marvelings are so great? Behold, I am a man, and am thy servant. Therefore, whatsoever thou desirest, which is right, that will I do. So I just love Ammon so much. I love his humility, and I love his willingness to serve. That is the best way to share the gospel, is through service. Now when the king had heard these words, he marveled again, for he beheld that Ammon could discern his thoughts. But notwithstanding this, King Lamoni did open his mouth and said unto him, Who art thou? Art thou that great spirit who knows all things? Ammon answered and said unto him, I am not. And the king said, How knowest thou the thoughts of my heart? That thou mayest speak boldly, and tell me concerning these things, and also tell me by what power ye slew and smote off the arms of thy brethren that scattered my flocks. And now, if thou wilt tell me concerning these things, whatsoever thou desirest, I will give unto thee. And if it were needed, I would guard thee with my armies. But I know that thou art more powerful than all they. Isn't that cool? King Lamoni is getting faith in the Lord because of Ammon. And because of the things that Ammon did. He says, I would give you an army to protect you, but I know that your God, your power, is more powerful than an army. Nevertheless, whatsoever thou desirest of me, I will grant it unto thee. Now Ammon, being wise, yet harmless, he said unto Lamoni, Wilt thou hearken unto my words, if I tell thee by what power I do these things? And this is the thing that I desire of thee. So Ammon was offered anything. And all he wanted to do was have King Lamoni hearken unto his words, listen with the intent to obey his words. And the king answered him and said, Yea, I will believe all thy words. And thus he was caught with guile. And Ammon began to speak unto him with boldness. Boldness is one of my favorite words ever. We defend the Lord with boldness. We share our testimonies with boldness. We share truth with boldness. We preach with boldness. And Ammon began to speak unto him with boldness, and said unto him, Believest thou that there is a God? And he answered and said unto him, I do not know what thou meanest. And then Ammon said, Believest thou that there is a great spirit? And he said, Yea. And Ammon said, This is God. And Ammon said unto him again, Believest thou that this great spirit, who is God, created all things which are in heaven and in the earth? And he said, Yea, I believe that he created all things which are in the earth, but I do not know the heavens. And Ammon said unto him, The heavens is a place where God dwells, and all his holy angels. And King Lamoni said, Is it above the earth? And Ammon said, Yea. And he looketh down upon all the children of men, and he knows all the thoughts and intents of the heart, for by his hand were they all created from the beginning. And King Lamoni said, I believe all these things which thou hast spoken. Art thou sent from God? Ammon said unto him, I am a man, and a man in the beginning was created after the image of God. And I am called by his Holy Spirit to teach these things unto this people, that they may be brought to a knowledge of that which is just and true. And a portion of that Spirit dwelleth in me, which giveth me knowledge and also power according to my faith and desires which are in God. Now when Ammon had said these words, he began at the creation of the world, and also the creation of Adam, and told him all of the things concerning the fall of man, and rehearsed and laid before him the records and the holy scriptures of the people, which had been spoken by the prophets, even down to the time that their father Lehi left Jerusalem. And he also rehearsed unto them, for it was unto the king and to his servants, all the journeyings of their fathers in the wilderness, and all their sufferings with hunger and thirst, and their travail, and so forth. And he also rehearsed unto them concerning the rebellions of Laman and Lemuel, and the sons of Ishmael. Yea, all their rebellions did he relate unto them. And he expounded unto them all the records and scriptures from the time that Lehi left Jerusalem down to the present time. For this is not all, For he expounded unto them the plan of redemption, which was prepared from the foundation of the world. And he also made known unto them concerning the coming of Christ. And all the works of the Lord did he make known unto them. And it came to pass that after he had said all these things, and expounded them to the king, that the king believed all his words. And he began to cry unto the Lord, saying, O Lord, have mercy according to thy abundant mercy, which thou hast had upon the people of Nephi. Have upon me and my people. What a heartfelt plea. King Lamoni has just now learned who God is, and his first thing he does is plead for mercy. And now when he had said this, he fell unto the earth as if he were dead. And it came to pass that his servants took him and carried him in unto his wife, and laid him upon a bed. And he lay as if he were dead for the space of 2 days and 2 nights. And his wife and his sons and his daughters mourned over him, after the manner of the Lamanites, greatly lamenting his loss. So they had assumed that he had died. What is going on right now is so foreign to anything they've ever experienced. They've heard talk of something called a great spirit, capital G great, capital S spirit. And they didn't really know what it was. It kind of encompassed some type of higher power. And that was the tradition that they believed in, but they didn't know much about it. And King Lamoni even said they assumed that everything that they were doing was good and fine, didn't really matter. But now he's realizing, whoa, maybe there is a power greater than me, and I am not doing what I'm supposed to do. Maybe I shouldn't have had all of those servants killed for having their flocks scattered. He's starting to awaken to his sins and the choices that he's made that have been not what the Lord wants him to do. But he's also just now finding out that there is a God, and that this thing that they have called the Great Spirit is actually God, the Lord. And he's learning now, if we have a Lord who has been merciful, then I need to change. I need to repent. And so he pleads for mercy for his people and for himself. Chapter 19. Lamoni receives the light of everlasting life and sees the Redeemer. His household falls into a trance, and many see angels. Ammon is preserved miraculously. He baptizes many and establishes a church among them. About 90 BC. And it came to pass that after 2 days and 2 nights, they were about to take his body and lay it in a sepulchre, which they had made for the purpose of burying their dead. Now the queen, having heard of the fame of Ammon, therefore she sent and desired that he should come in unto her. So remember, King Lamoni is really humbled and learns of the Lord and cries out for the Lord to have mercy on him and on his people, and then falls to the earth as if he were dead. And so they think that he's dead. They're treating him as if he's dead. They are bringing all the things that they have that they use to bury their dead. And the queen heard of Ammon, and so she wanted him to come in and talk to her. And it came to pass that Ammon did as he was commanded, and went in unto the queen, and desired to know what he should do. And she said unto him, The servants of my husband have made it known unto me that thou art a prophet of the holy God, and that thou hast power to do many mighty works in his name. Therefore, if this is the case, I would that ye should go in and see my husband, for he has been laid upon his bed for the space of 2 days and 2 nights. And some say that he is not dead, but others say that he is dead and that he stinketh, and that he ought to be placed in the sepulchre. But as for myself, to me he doth not stink. Now this was what Ammon desired, for he knew that King Lamoni was under the power of God. He knew that the dark veil of unbelief was being cast away from his mind, and the light which did light up his mind, which was the light of the glory of God, which was a marvelous light of his goodness. Yea, this light had infused such joy into his soul, the cloud of darkness having been dispelled, and that the light of everlasting life was lit up in his soul. Yea, he knew that this had overcome his natural frame, and he was carried away in God. Therefore, what the queen desired of him was his only desire. Therefore he went in to see the king according as the queen had desired him. And he saw the king, and he knew that he was not dead. And he said unto the queen, He is not dead, but he sleepeth in God, and on the morrow he shall rise again. Therefore bury him not. And Ammon said unto her, Believest thou this? And she said unto him, I have had no witness save thy word, and the word of our servants. Nevertheless, I believe that it shall be according as thou hast said. So she sounds like she's even understanding. I know I sound crazy because I've never heard this before. I've only had what you just told me, but I believe you. I actually do believe you. And Ammon said unto her, Blessed art thou because of thy exceeding faith. I say unto thee, woman, there has not been such great faith among all the people of the Nephites. So Ammon is understanding what incredible faith King Lamoni's wife has. And he says that you have more faith than anybody I know, even of the Nephites. And it came to pass that she watched over the bed of her husband from that time even until the time on the morrow when Ammon had appointed that he should rise. And it came to pass that he arose according to the words of Ammon. And as he arose, he stretched forth his hand unto the woman and said, Blessed be the name of God, and blessed art thou. So isn't that cool? So King Lamoni had obviously been in his state of what we would call like a coma, where he's laying as if he's dead for a few days and nights and not responding to anything. And he wakes up and blesses God and blesses his wife. So he must have been told that she had the faith. He probably saw it. He probably experienced that with her. For as sure as thou livest, behold, I have seen my Redeemer. And he shall come forth and be born of a woman, and he shall redeem all mankind who believe on his name. Now when he had said these words, his heart was swollen within him, and he sunk again with joy. And the queen also sunk down, being overpowered by the Spirit. So I just imagine the image of them, this scene where they're just holding each other, testifying of the Lord. Ammon, King Lamoni is just telling her everything that he has seen. So they just fall together down to the earth as they're processing this incredible experience that King Lamoni just had, and he's telling it to his wife. Now Ammon, seeing the Spirit of the Lord poured out according to his prayers upon the Lamanites, his brethren, who had been the cause of so much mourning among the Nephites, or among all the people of God, because of their iniquities and their traditions, he fell upon his knees and began to pour out his soul in prayer and thanksgiving to God for what he had done for his brethren. And he was also overpowered with joy. And thus they all three had sunk to the earth. So all three of them now are fallen to the ground, praising the Lord and just glorifying him and offering immense gratitude. Now when the servants of the king had seen that they had fallen, they also began to cry unto God, for the fear of the Lord had come upon them also. For it was they who had stood before the king and testified unto him concerning the great power of Ammon. And it came to pass that they did call on the name of the Lord in their might, even until they had all fallen to the earth, save it were one of the Lamanitish women, whose name was Abish. This woman, Abish, I want to meet her so badly. She having been converted unto the Lord for many years on account of a remarkable vision of her father. So Abish's father had a vision of the Lord. And this incredible woman, Abish, had been waiting for, it said, many years. So she'd been waiting for many years for the gospel to be brought to her people. And everybody falls to the earth completely astonished. Even these servants that were with Ammon, who don't know anything about God, are calling on the name of God. Isn't that incredible boldness? They're not even questioning, is he real? Who is he? They can feel the Spirit so strong. They're just calling out to him. And this woman, Abish, is amazing. And she just knows. She knows the gospel. She's already been converted. And she has got to be ecstatic with now knowing my king, his wife, his servants, they all know about the Lord now. They all know what I know. And she didn't fall to the earth because this was not new information for her. She knew the Lord already. Thus, having been converted to the Lord and never having made it known, Therefore, when she saw that all the servants of Lamoni had fallen to the earth, and also her mistress, the queen, and the king, and Ammon lay prostrate upon the earth, she knew that it was the power of God. And supposing that this opportunity, by making known unto the people what had happened among them, that by beholding this scene it would cause them to believe in the power of God. Therefore she ran forth from house to house, making it known unto the people. So this incredible woman is thrilled, and she knows everybody needs to know this. We all need to know that God is real and that he exists. And so she runs house to house, telling all the people about the Lord and what had happened, and King Lamoni and his wife, and this man Ammon who came, and the servants and the arms, and she's telling everybody. And they begin to assemble themselves together into the house of the king. And there came a multitude, and to their astonishment they beheld the king and the queen and their servants prostrate upon the earth, and they all lay there as if though they were dead. And they also saw Ammon. Behold, he was a Nephite. Now the people began to murmur among themselves, some saying that it was the great evil that had come upon them, or upon the king and his house, because he had suffered that the Nephites should remain in the land. But others rebuked them, saying, the king hath brought this evil upon his house. Therefore he slew his servants, who had their flocks scattered at the waters of Sebes. So there's people that are not feeling the same power, the same spirit, and they're thinking that this Nephite brought evil into the house, and now none of them can move. It's interesting because they knew evil was real, but not necessarily that they needed to make choices to avoid evil. Because Lamoni didn't realize that maybe what he was doing wasn't right until he'd met Ammon, and then started to have guilt of maybe I shouldn't have killed those people. Now one of them, whose brother had been slain with the sword of Ammon, being exceedingly angry with Ammon, drew his sword and went forth that he might let it fall upon Ammon to slay him. And as he lifted the sword to smite him, behold, he fell dead. Now we see that Ammon could not be slain. The Lord had said unto Mosiah his father, I will spare him, and it shall be unto him according to thy faith. Therefore Mosiah trusted him unto the Lord. And it came to pass, when the multitude beheld that the man had fallen dead, who lifted the sword to slay Ammon, fear came upon them all, and they durst not put forth their hands to touch him, or any of those who had fallen, and they began to marvel again among themselves, what could be the cause of this great power, or what all these things could mean. And it came to pass that there were many among them who said that Ammon was the Great Spirit, and others said that he was sent by the Great Spirit. But others rebuked them all, saying that he was a monster who had been sent from the Nephites to torment them. And there were some who said that Ammon was sent by the Great Spirit to afflict them because of their iniquities, and that it was the Great Spirit that had always attended the Nephites, who had ever delivered them out of their hands. And they said that it was this Great Spirit who had destroyed so many of their brethren, the Lamanites. And thus the contention began to be exceedingly sharp among them. And while they were thus contending, the woman servant who had caused the multitude to be gathered together came, and when she saw the contention which was among the multitude, she was exceedingly sorrowful, even unto tears. So this sweet Abish was so excited that the people are finally learning about the Lord. And she'd known him for many years. She was converted because of a vision of her father. And she goes house to house telling everybody, you gotta come right now, come see King Lamoni, come see his wife, come see all of his servants. And they did, and some thought that what was happening was evil. And when she had gotten back to the palace where they all were, and seen this, that the people were angry, and one even tried to kill Ammon, she was so sad. She was exceedingly sorrowful, even unto tears. You can just sense the purity of her heart with all of this, waiting for so long for the people to come to know the Lord that she knew and loved. And then once they have this chance, she goes and tells them, everybody come see, hoping that they're going to have the same experience that she's had. And when she gets there, she sees them all fighting, and she just starts crying. And it came to pass that she went and took the queen by the hand, that perhaps she might raise her from the ground. And as soon as she touched her hand, she arose and stood upon her feet, and cried with a loud voice, saying, "O blessed Jesus, who has saved me from an awful hell. O blessed God, have mercy on this people." And when she had said this, she clasped her hands, being filled with joy, speaking many words which were not understood. And when she had done this, she took the king Lamoni by the hand. And behold, he arose and stood upon his feet. And he, immediately seeing the contention among his people, went forth and began to rebuke them, and to teach them the words which he had heard from the mouth of Ammon. And as many as heard his words believed, and were converted unto the Lord. And there were many among them who would not hear his words, therefore they went their way. And it came to pass that when Ammon arose, he also administered unto them, and also did all the servants of Lamoni. And they did all declare unto the people the self same thing, that their hearts had been changed, that they had no more desire to do evil. And behold, many did declare unto the people that they had seen angels and had conversed with them. And thus they had told them things of God and of his righteousness. And it came to pass that there were many that did believe in their words, and as many as did believe were baptized. And they became a righteous people, and they did establish a church among them. And thus the work of the Lord did commence among the Lamanites. Thus the Lord did begin to pour out his Spirit unto them. And we see that his arm is extended to all people who will repent and believe on his name.